Bachelors in the City out your mouth.
If you have nothing nice to say. Welcome back, everybody. That was kind of a weird entrance. If you've been living under a rock and haven't heard the news, Will Smith slapping the hell out of Chris Rock.
Was that Bane from Batman saying, keep my wife's name out your mouth? Is that what you're going for?
That was from a distance. I covered my mouth because it was at a distance. We didn't.
I thought you were trying to talk like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. You think darkness is your ally?
That was pretty good. That was not bad.
I know I got
you've
some
been doing that for like 3
impersonations.
years.
I have.
Guys, we have a treat for you. But first of all, we got approval for an interview.
Hallelujah.
This is a big deal. First of all, yes, we would like to thank the Academy for believing in us. Secondly, we'd like to thank our guest today for breaking the curse. And third, we'd like to thank Captain Peter. For no particular reason, we're just kind of missing him a little bit. Not that we don't enjoy having you here, Clay. We love having you here,
Dustin,
too.
you have the whole spot in New York City to yourself. We're basically paying your rent. You don't miss me or Peter, man. You and your girlfriend are just living large over there in the place, man.
First of all, I'll say this. Yes, I'm going to say your meals are pretty good.
They came again, huh?
Oh, we have another batch coming?
No, is that the new batch never came?
Oh, it came last week.
Yeah, last week. There's a new batch coming.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
This guy's eating my meals. He's drinking my protein. He's sleeping in the house that I'm paying rent for. I haven't even been there. This guy is just benefiting. It's unbelievable.
I am taking care of Trip, though. Trip's an old dog. You know, it takes a lot of time and care. I got to put his eye drops in 3 times a day. Got to take him out.
But what are you doing for me? That's Pete's dog.
I brought your mattress up yesterday.
The movers brought my mattresses up.
Not that mattress. I mean, your bed covering. I brought that up.
Wait,
that
so the bed
heavy.
covering actually came?
It came.
It just came.
I brought that up. That was pretty heavy.
Yesterday. Okay. That counts for something. I'll give you 1 amino energy for that.
Okay, I'll take it. Guys, we have a special guest. We have former MLB player, Bachelor Nation resident, the nice guy.
One of my favorite guys, honestly. One of my favorite guys. Mike Planeta, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Planeta. Awesome guy.
Great guy. Guys, this is a big interview, so let's just get into it. Mike P, the man himself.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
Thanks for coming on, brother. How you feeling?
I feel good, man. West Coast time, a little bit earlier than you guys, but I know we talked about this for a while hopping on here, so I'm excited to be on.
Mike, it's good to have you on, man. I'm going to go on a limb and say Mike is in, we all know who the top athlete in Bachelor Nation is. And he's speaking right now. But I'll go on a limb and I'm going to give Mike top 5 athletes in the history of Bachelor Nation. This guy's got a crazy story. He's a pretty good athlete, really good athlete, honestly. But I mean, like in comparison, to me, it's like he's okay. But anyways, he's a great athlete. He's got a crazy story. He played professional baseball. He played college basketball. He wanted to play football, but it was a little too hard for him, the physicality of it. But unbelievable athlete, man. I can't wait to get into talking about Mike's story a little bit. The guy's very, very interesting.
I appreciate that, man. I'm gonna save the banter for when we get into that, because Clay, from the day Clay and I met, we've been going at each other with who's the athlete. But I got to give it to the man. He played 9 years in the NFL, so you can't argue with that. So,
I mean,
I appreciate it, Mike.
Let's stop rubbing his ego. We
Dustin
gotta do it
never gives me anything, man. He never gives me anything.
Anyways, this is about you, Mike. So let's talk real quick. How do we all know one another? I guess I'll let you go ahead and give that little rundown of.
Yeah. So, I think Clay and I first met when I went to Chicago that would have been Labor Day. And then about 3 weeks later, Dustin and I met in Belize. We were all on a trip together. And that trip was actually That's one of the best trips I've ever been on, to be honest.
That was a really fun trip.
It was incredible. I'll never forget. This is actually a funny story. I'll never forget. So we get on this trip, and none of us really know anything about this trip. So we're kind of left in the dark. We just know we're going to Belize. So our flight gets delayed. We get in there pretty late. We're thinking like, okay, we've taken a car to this place. You know, we've driven for about 2 hours. We're not really sure where we're going. You know, we were the new batch. Our season had just ended. So we were the new batch, and some of the guys may have knew you guys. I didn't know hardly any of you guys. I just met Clay and only our guys. So we take this like janky van for like 2.5 hours. We get to this boat. At this point, it's like 10:30 p.m. And we kind of look at each other and we're like, all right, are we about to be killed? Because we don't know where we're going. They're saying we're going on an 1.5-hour boat ride in the middle of nowhere. It's like storming. You can see a tsunami coming on, or not a tsunami, a hurricane coming on in the background. And I'll never forget, I think it was Clay. I think, Dustin, you're down at the bottom. I think it was Clay, Drew, Pete, and I, and we're sitting up top at this boat. And we are just talking about the what ifs of what would we do in these situations if everything went wrong. And for an hour, and we thought this trip was going to be about maybe 30 minutes ride. We're on this boat for an 1.5 hours in the middle of nowhere. At this point, it's midnight. We're literally on our way talking about the what ifs of what we would do if this went bad. And then we finally got to the island, and dude, that was I feel like that was an incredible trip for all of us. We got to, connect well and just kind of disconnect from the world and do some cool things. That was fun.
Back on that trip there, though, man, like you forgot like the potholes. We went down like a back road for 2 hours. Big ass potholes.
The police looking at us funny. Cops.
You could just hear the jungle animals talking. It's pitch black everywhere. Yeah. Man, that boat ride was scary. I was like, you were saying, what if? There ain't nothing you could do if something went wrong out there.
Nothing.
You're done. We're in the middle of the sea. The only time you could see light is when the lightning from the storm came on.
That was it. That was it. And that's what I'm talking about with the potential hurricane that was coming. It's like, okay, we're either going to capsize in this boat if this goes bad with the weather, or we're going to get hijacked. And that was the what ifs we were playing. And you're right. I remember that. What was funny is that car ride actually on the way back. So I think Clay was in the van with me, and I think you might have been too, Dustin, on the way back. There was a window open in this car, and we didn't realize that we were just taking on dust the whole time. And by the time we got out of the van, our stuff had like a layer this thick of dust all over our bags in the back. I'm like, man, this is brutal.
Inhaling all this dust and shit.
Yeah.
Lungs are terrible. But that trip, man, we got there. It was beautiful. It was insane. Guys, we were on a small island. It was literally to ourselves. No one else is really on this island, maybe 2 other couples. But it was just us. We had some good little bonding moments with the 3 of us. We went out to the pier. I guess you would call it a pier out there. And it was pitch black. And they had like these blue, black lights under the water. So you could see like the stingrays come up, and you could just see the stars. And we talked about a lot of things. We talked about values, faith, past relationships, and goals. And we had a nice little bonding moment out there. That was really dope. I really cherished that moment we had.
Dude, and that's like, I know all of us have talked about this, past that trip. But, what comes with these trips, and there's really cool opportunities and things like that, and there's beautiful parts of the world we get to see. But at the end of the day, man, when it comes down to these trips, it really is about building these friendships, and not just on a surface level. It's actually digging deep in these friendships and understanding who the person actually is. And I think that's what those moments you were talking about on that trip specifically, where a lot of us were like, none of us had service, we weren't on our phone, we were just sitting there. Actually, it almost reminded me of like when you're on the show and everything's taken away from you, and you have to really dig deep. Except now there's no camera or anything, so you're like being super vulnerable, and you're being you're talking about things that I think guys neglect a lot. And you're right. those moments on that trip, those are those things that really build out true friendships. And, and I valued that too. That was a dope trip.
Yeah, those are great moments, man. Oh man. So let's get on to let's leave Belize now. Tell us about baseball.
What we got to
man.
talk about first, though, before we get started, right?
What we got to talk about?
Before we get into Mike and talking about baseball and his,
I already know what's coming.
We got to talk about exactly. We got to talk about the Oscars. We got to talk about the Oscars, man. I mean,
all right, let's talk about it.
Will Smith. I mean, if you've been hiding under a rock and you don't know what happened at the Oscars, I was watching it live. I don't know why. I'm not a really big award show guy, but I'm watching it live. Chris Rock is a presenter he's going to present a couple of the best picture. I don't think it was the best pictures, but he's going to present a couple of the awards. And he comes out and he starts rolling off a couple jokes. And one of his jokes, he targets Jada Pinkett Smith and says, "Hey, Jada, I love the hairstyle. I'm be looking for you in G.I. Jane 2, which is, apparently talking about her hair, how she's got a shaved head. Little does Chris Rock know that she actually has alopecia, which is a hair loss, a disease, autoimmune disease. Will Smith seems to think it's funny at first. He's laughing, but then he looks at Jada, and Jada isn't happy. So Will Smith gets up in the front of the Oscars, the Academy Awards, walks up to Chris Rock and open hand slaps this man on live television in front of everybody, sits down, and when Chris Rock is basically like, what the hell just happened? He says, "Keep my wife's name out yo effing mouth," and says that twice. So there's been, and to make the situation even stranger, even more strange, and I'm like, we're living in a simulation for sure. 2 awards later, 10 minutes of real time, Will Smith wins the Best Actor award and gets on stage and is hysterically crying and talking about what just happened, as well as talking about, receiving this award. It's his first one for Best Actor. And it just made it all the more strange to me. And I got to hear your guys' take on what happened. Because I have a couple of takes, but I want to hear what you guys think about this.
History in the making.
History.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say. I wasn't watching it, but of course, you see stuff trending on Twitter. So you were like, what happened? So I started, digging and looking at it. Here's what I'll say. I'm a big fan of Will Smith. I've loved Will Smith, since Fresh Prince, growing up with that. And I love Chris Rock too. I think he's hilarious. So I was confused. I watched the video. I'm like, and then I saw stage trending on Twitter too. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is staged. So then I'm like, no, this isn't staged. This is real. Here's my take on it. Do I think you should walk up and slap somebody? No, I don't. But to me, as being an ex-athlete, like that happens in the locker room like 4 times a week. So it's something where it wasn't something that I was like overly bothered by, because I understood where he was coming from. He's standing up for his wife. Do I think he was probably a little overly sensitive about the joke? Yes, especially with how funny Will Smith is. Do I think that there was layers to this for him? Yeah, I do. And I think this was probably a culmination of things over the last, few years. And it probably boiled over because it was done in front of the public and he wanted to defend his wife's honor. Chris Rock he can take a slap, man. He literally, he takes it and he's like, and had humor with it, and I was like, man, that's why I thought it was fake at first. I was like, man, he took that well.
It lookn't fake because he just moved his head.
It looked fake.
But like I said, I see both sides. I would be upset. I wouldn't have probably handled it as well as Chris Rock did. I'd probably been like, wait a second. Okay, if I knew that was real and I just got hit, I'd be like, okay, we're going to have an exchange of words, or at least take it backstage, right? But Will Smith, I understand where he's coming from. And I don't think he was targeting specifically Chris Rock. I really think it was just, he was tired of this stuff. And I think he just, popped off. But what was the dopest part about it that I heard? What was the best part of it that I heard was when Denzel came to him, and he actually said this in the speech, he said, be careful. The devil comes at you at your highest points. And I was like, man, Denzel's always dropping wisdom.
Unbelievable. Denzel was the one this whole situation, in my opinion.
Yeah. And not only that, I also love the fact that Chris Rock didn't press any charges because he also probably understood. He's like, okay, Will probably just snapped. It is what it is. We can handle this like men. We don't have to get, make it too dirty. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I don't see, they're both wrong. No one's really right in this.
Yeah.
And again, like Will Smith, I'm trying to see it from his angle. Jada's probably been very sensitive towards this, been very insecure, probably like telling him nonstop. He's probably in this. He's probably seen her cry numerous times.
Yeah.
Chris says to Joe, he probably laughs and looks at her, and it's probably just hit him so hard that even like he was embarrassed to kind of giggle a little bit. So he has to stand up for his wife. And I would think that most women would want their man to stick up for him. Maybe not do that, but sticking up for your spouse is sticking up for your spouse, besides just letting everyone laugh it off or whatnot.
Yeah, and that's hard, man. That's a hard position to be in, especially in front of everybody. And that's the thing is, after watching it and watching Chris Rock's response, I don't know if Chris Rock knew that she had a condition. I don't think he knew that.
He said he came out and said he didn't know.
He probably, man, I bet Chris Rock said a different joke. It also seemed like that joke wasn't even that funny. It seemed like he was reaching.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times comedians get stuck in this field to where they gotta reach for these jokes. They gotta make a joke every time. And it's like, sometimes you don't have to. Just come up there, present the award, be yourself,
Yeah.
He was kind of reaching, in my opinion.
Well, he's a comedian. That's why they bring him out. They bring him out to tell a joke here and there. I understand. And here's my take on the situation, man. Watching it live, I thought it was staged like everybody else. First thing I tweeted, I go, man, Will Smith went from knocking out an alien in Independence Day to barely making Chris Rock stumble. The first tweet I did. I said, it's unbelievable. This guy can't even he knocked out an alien, punched an alien in the face. Dude was knocked out cold. If you ever watch Independence Day.
Yeah.
But here's what I think it goes back to, man. I've read part of Will Smith's book. I heard the summary on it. And a lot of it talks about how he wishes he was more assertive. He's afraid of being a coward. He thinks that he wished he could be more like Tupac, was like one of his quotes, and I think that was him trying to be that guy, stand up, do something on the whim. He's so put together and stuff. And then obviously he started digging into it, right? Chris Rock had said a joke in like 2016 about the Oscars because Will didn't get nominated for Concussion, where he did an unbelievable job in the movie Concussion. I thought he should have been nominated too, but Chris Rock's like, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are boycotting the Oscars, right? So he's like, Will Smith can boycott the Oscars. Jada Pinkett Smith is boycotting the Oscars. It's like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I didn't get the invitation. I would love to go, but I didn't get the invitation. That was his joke. And so they took it. Everybody started dying laughing. They weren't there. Okay, so there's a little history there. You start to see that part. Then he comes after him again. And then you think about, hey, what Will Smith has been dealing with the last year. Jada coming out on live TV, talking about entanglements. All these other men with his wife, and he's been the brunt of all these jokes. His face is a meme when he's on TV with Jada talking. You see that meme everywhere. You guys know what I'm talking. Will Smith, when he looks like he's like crying, he's real upset. The meme's everywhere. This guy's getting made fun of. It just happened to all come out on Chris Rock's face. No pause. But I'm just saying, like, that slap was a build-up of a lot of different things, man. I'm telling you that is why that happened. Then you start digging even deeper, and you find out that Will Smith is donating millions of dollars to Scientology. I don't know about Scientology, and there's people saying that Scientologists, they abuse, they slap is like something so I don't know how deep this thing goes, but there's a lot of different things coming out. The Scientology thing, the Jada thing.
He's also from West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground.
Exactly.
I see why he got bullied now, though, with that kind of punching power. Man, that's why he was getting bullied. Will, get in the weight room. He make the bully stumble a little bit.
He probably didn't want to kill him with a slap. Anybody can take a slap.
A slap is meant to be disrespectful. A slap is meant to prove a point. A slap isn't meant to knock someone out or injure someone. A slap is meant to just really belittle somebody. You get slapped by another man in the face. In the old days, they used to slap people in the face. But after that, they would have to go. One of them would have to go.
One's
They would
gonna
have
die.
a duel. One of them's got to die now. You slap me in the face, I challenge you to a duel. I accept your challenge. All right, now one of us has got to go.
But let's answer this question, though. Do you think, I almost guarantee, people are making fun of it on the internet. I guarantee you no one's going to make a joke of him or his family in person anymore. I guarantee this is done. No one's going to, I guarantee it's done.
Yeah. In person.
In person. He set the tone. And that's, and that's clearly what.
But online, it's amplified 1,000 times.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny. It's not really disrespect. It's just, it's just kind of around the whole.
That's chatter now. No, I think, Dustin, I agree. I think, and I agree with you too, Clay. Online, he's going to get absolutely crushed. He's going to get crushed, and it'll be a lasting thing forever, right? But I think people within, I guess, his circle are now going to be like, yeah, that's off limits, and then maybe he can deal with the stuff online, and maybe he can't deal with the stuff in his inner circle of people taking shots at him. So maybe that's the point he was trying to make. But if you do something like that on live TV, the internet's going to go berserk like it did. But I think he was more worried about, like, example, what if Denzel is one of his mentors or something like that, and that's happening in front of people that he respects or people that he's always constantly working with. And I think that's where you're right, Dustin. People are like, all right, we're good. Like, we're gonna lay off of that for a minute,
Yeah, man, that was deep.
Well, maybe
y'all.
guys, good talk, man. Maybe we should start a nice little show right here. I like this group of guys, especially since Belize. It's a good group.
You get picked up for the Bachelorette.
Yeah, how's that happen? How do you get cast for the Bachelorette, Mike?
So I was living in Kauai at the time. I had gone there for work. This was in 2018. And I was there for like 4 months. I get a random DM. I'm like, man, this ain't real. I'm not answering this. And then I, like, 4 weeks later, I get another DM for another show. Man, what is this? And then I get a DM about The Amazing Race. And I'm like, oh, this would kind of be dope. So first it was Bachelor, then it was like, I don't even remember what show it was, and then it was Amazing Race, and that was the only one that really interested me because I was like, oh, it's travel, and then they were like, you could potentially win. I guess it was like $1 million or something. So I was like, all right, I'll consider that. End up going through a little bit of the interview process for it, and then I just never filled out the paperwork. We couldn't find me a partner, so I was like, whatever. Just kind of close the book on all that. I'm like, whatever, right? End up going to moving back to San Diego, and then had a message on LinkedIn one day from another show. It was Love Island. And I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, why are these shows reaching out?
And these shows wanted you. Did you have like a big Instagram following and like stuff like that?
No, that's the thing about this story. This is what's wild. And this is where it got really wild at the end. Probably had 1,000 followers, dude. I wasn't anything on social media, right? But I just kept getting these DMs. Then I get it on LinkedIn. Then I get another DM about another dating show that they were just starting. This is where it gets wild. So now, fast forward, we're at this point, I'd had like 5 shows reach out. Fast forward to February of 2021. So not this past February, the February before. I had 4 shows reach out in 10 days.
What?
Wow.
And I was like, what the heck is going on? And it was Love Island. You'll laugh at this. Too Hot to Handle. It was
Too Hot to Handle?
You would have been perfect for Too Hot to Handle.
I didn't know the context of it, man. I would have won that. I would have won that. So then it was like there was one more show. I think it was like Love is Blind. It was either Love is Blind or another show. I can't remember what it was. And this is what happened. I kid you not, to this extent. I remember sitting there and being like, because I didn't really answer any of them, and I remember looking up and be like, all right, God, if you want me to go on reality TV, I was like, make it clear. That's literally, I verbally said that. The next day I had another message from the Bachelorette, and I was like, man, not that clear. I was like, I didn't mean that, right? So I remember being like, you guys know me with my faith. I remember being like, all right, God, like, I'll go through the process. But when I tell you this, y'all are going to laugh at this because you've been through this process. I remember saying this. I was like, all right, guy, like if this doesn't like really like be really smooth process with these interviews, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not doing this. So we get in the meetings and I was brutally honest and low key when I got to like the last meeting with the producers. And I'm always bold about my faith, but I was like going extra to scare them off. Not to scare them off, but like I was holding church service in there. I was preaching, right? And they were like, you could tell they were like, because they asked me like, so are you like really serious about your faith? And I was like, all right, here we go. And I wasn't doing it to be obnoxious. I just genuinely was like, like I'm gonna be so brutally authentic, like authentically me. I don't want like, because I want them to know, right? So after that meeting, and it went well, and they liked me, but I in my mind I'm like, there's no shot they're putting me on this show, right? Like it's so counterculture. So all of a sudden they're like, and at this point, never seen an episode of and they're like, don't watch it. I'd never seen an episode of the franchise. Didn't even know who the girls were going to be. Even if I did know them, I hadn't seen them, so I didn't know what they were like. And they just hid everything from me. A week later, they're like, yeah, so can you're in, we picked you. Quarantine starts on I think it was like March 7th. And at this point it was like March 3rd. I'm like, in 4 days? And they're like, yeah. So I remember being like, man, like who's going to take over my gym? So I called my boy because of COVID. He's an NBA strength coach. He was just coming back. And I was like, yo, like, could you take this over for me? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, see, this is how I know I'm supposed to be going on the show. Yeah. Boom. March 7th, sitting in quarantine for, prepping for the show. And I remember just being like, and I remember, bro, first night, I remember at the rose ceremony, I remember being like, how in the world did I end up here? I was like, how am I here right now? 3 weeks ago, I'd never even heard about this show. Like, how am I here? And come to find out, like, when all the guys chat, I ended up coming to find out I was like the last ad. And now looking back, I'm like, okay, I understand why they put me on there. But that's how it all happened, man. It was crazy.
Do you think it had something to do with the fact that Katie was so sex positive and so different than you? They wanted to kind of see how that interaction was going to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. As time goes on, right? I look back at it and you always have the like, now that I know more, like that makes sense. Do I know those intentions? I never asked. Do I think that I was probably put in situations for reasons? Yeah, no question about it.
Specific dates. I actually watched your season a lot, obviously, because my cousin was on it.
Yeah.
And, I'll watch it occasionally here and there. I remember I'm like, man, Mike, like this guy. Like I remember thinking like this guy would be a great bachelor. Knowing you, I thought the same thing. Like they kind of put you in some weird situations when they're doing all this crazy like outlandish like sex talk and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, why would they put Mike on that date? They obviously have control over that. And it makes you wonder about that.
Here's what I'll say though. And this is like a lot of people were upset that I was put in situations like that. Do I think it was the best interest? That's not for me to decide, but I will say this. I really think that, I'm the man that I think I am or that I strive to be. I'm not perfect with it, but if I really think I'm strong in my faith, then why would I be intimidated by moments like that? In fact, I feel like those are opportunities to to rise up in those moments and actually show who you really are. And I feel like sometimes, and I don't think this is our God is good, but I do think sometimes it's like, put your money where your mouth is. Like if you're going to say that you want to stand up for this, then you're going to be put in uncomfortable situations and you're going to have to show up. And that was one thing, it's so funny, man. I was talking with my buddies about this probably about a month ago, and he was asking me these questions. And I remember being like, bro, the confidence that I moved in on that show, and here's why, because I didn't want to be there, right?
Yeah.
I never in a million years thought that it wasn't just a Bachelor. I never in a million years thought that I was going to be on reality TV. It wasn't me. I wanted to find the girl organically. I wanted to, that's just how I never viewed my life going there. And so often you think too, it's like, I think we're all guilty of this from both sides is we're like, that's counterculture. Like I'm not going to put myself in that situation, where I really felt like God was calling me to leap into that situation and dive head first in while still staying true to my convictions. And that was one thing. Once I got clarity on that and I felt like I was being challenged in that way, bro, the confidence that I moved with, I was like, y'all can throw whatever you want at me, but you're not going to break me with this because I know I'm here for a reason. And that's ultimately that. There was one day specifically, it was the first group date where I got thrown in the wolves, and I was like, and everyone's like, that's BS. But I was like, but I don't care because I was called to be in that moment. And you know what's wild about that moment? When that aired, that was on June 14th. From June 14th to June 21st, I had 40,000 DMs. 40,000 DMs talking about, dude, I had people that were Christians, non-Christians. I had people that were Muslim. I had people that were Hindu. I had people that were atheists from all walks of life that were like, hey, man, I may not even agree with you on that, or I do agree with you on that, but just know that I respect you for being authentic and showing up for who you were. And I was like, and don't tell me like we're not all called to be in certain situations for that. And that's ultimately like, we can take the show for what it's worth. But one thing I'll say about the show is like, I'm glad I was put in those uncomfortable situations because that's refining, right? And like, dude, to be refined, you got to get thrown in the fire. And everybody that watched that knew I got thrown in the fire. But I'm so appreciative of it because like what it's allowed me to step into post of just even the man that I am, of like the humility in it, right? Like, I think that's one thing that's lacked as men. We always want to be like, oh, I'm so tough on this, I'm that. And that was one thing that, dude, I really had to humble myself and get out of my own way. And that was something that was a learning curve for me, right? It was like, okay, you're the odd man out here, where it's like, you may not be the one that is so conducive to this atmosphere, but like, you got to humble yourself and you got to show up and you got to love on people and you got to show up with high character. And that was just what I tried to focus on. Did I always do it right? No, I didn't. I'm not perfect, dude. And you guys know that. You guys know me. I'm far from perfect. But one thing I tried to do was really step into that. I think I at least tried to do it. And people have said that that's what I did. So I guess, yeah.
Mike for Bachelor. Mike Planeta for Bachelor. How about this, Mike? How about, you get a call from the producers. I think it'll probably be in the next month or so. They start getting all the casting stuff going and they say, hey, Mike, we think that you would be great down on this beach that we have, in this little place called Paradise. Is there a chance that we could see Mike Planeta on a beach near you? And I think you do really well in Paradise, man. And I honestly, I remember talking to you. I think you would have been a great bachelor, man. Just a guy, a man of faith. You know what you want. But here's the problem. I think you're too refined. You know exactly what you want, and you know how to do it. You would probably end the season early and really pick the girl that you liked. In my opinion,
doesn't deal with the BS.
Yeah, I'd go to get married. Yeah, I would.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But is there any chance that you that maybe we see you on a beach? And if you can't talk about that, I know how it goes, but I have to ask.
I mean, there's things obviously that I contractually can't talk about, but I here's what I'll say, man. There would have to be things that would be smoothed over a little bit for me to ever consider that. My exit was, there'd have to be things smoothed over. I'll leave it at that. But I'll say this, no. And here's why, because there would have to be, and this isn't fair of me to say too, take this with a grain of salt. I don't watch the show, so I don't know who's all out there and who would be potential options. I don't know, but there would have to be a girl that would be like a great fit, right? And somebody that I could potentially build a life with. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste anybody's time, right? Yeah. I not only would I not want to waste my time, but I wouldn't want to waste a great girl's time down there without the intention of building something that's long lasting, that is leading towards marriage. Listen, man, I just turned 32. Like, I'm a guy that I know what I want. I want to, start a family. I mean, Clay and I had a talk about this on that slide in Belize. We sat there for about an hour, and him and I were just talking about life, and we talked about what we're looking for and the direction we're going. And the reality of it for me, man, is like, you probably won't see me down there, because for me, unless they had a girl that everyone was like, Mike has to meet this girl, like they are so good for each other. That would be a different story. But I haven't had anybody reach out to me about that, of who that girl would be. So that's why I have no interest in it, because I would have to have that, because I'd go there to get married. At the end of the day, man, I know what I want. And that's another part, is like, because I know what I want, it makes it a little bit harder for a guy like me to thrive in those situations.
Yeah, like you're a funny guy. Like you can shoot the shit, as they say it. Probably not in those terms, but we like to bust each other's chins. Bust each other's chins a little bit. And like hanging out with you, Andrew, Justin, Greg, and all those guys. It's been great, man. It's funny. With Andrew going on the show, I've gotten to meet you guys and get close with you guys, and it's great because it's like kind of doing it all over again when I was on The Bachelor with my friends and stuff, and seeing you guys again. It's pretty fun just going through that whole experience again.
It's vice versa too, and that's the attractive part, right? Is like you have specifically like guys like you and Dustin is like you guys are older guys, right? So like for me,
easy.
No, listen, listen to this.
You're older than you, Mike.
No, but this one,
I'm 35. But
no, this is the point I'm making. Is that's more in my range, right? So it's like those are really attractive friendships for me because there's depth, right?
Yeah.
And like, of course, my close group, there's a lot of depth in that because we're always together. So that's different, and to take the age out of that. But it's been so refreshing to meet guys like you and even Pete and other guys that have been on the trips. It's been so refreshing because I'm like these dudes, a lot of these guys have the same, vision of like where I'm trying to go in life. And we get to like talk about things. We get to refine each other. And I think that's the beauty, of this franchise is you get those opportunities to meet some amazing people. So, but here's the thing too, is it the ego in me that wants to, to show people that I have this other side of me? I got to die to that. You know what I mean? Like I got to die to that ego. Like I don't need to prove to anybody. I'm so secure in myself. I know exactly who I am. And I don't feel the need to have to go show these other sides of me. The only thing that I would go to show there is that I could go on that beach and meet a girl, or this was my, purpose on my season with Katie, is like show a girl that I can die to myself daily and serve a woman like her for the rest of my life. Like that's what I'm trying to prove. And younger me would have wanted to go on the beach and peacock 24/7. Like that's what I would have wanted to do. Right. But at the same time, like that's just not where I'm at in my life. Like I genuinely want to like die to my selfish gains and like actually put somebody first and serve somebody. Right. And that's why I think it puts me in a different area in my life that I don't know if that's conducive to that,
I'll say this. I would honestly, like you were saying before, after you went on the show, you got 40 DMs of people that just respected you and you inspired them. You gave a little inspiration to them of maybe how they can act within their lives. And that's one of the reasons why I would actually love to see you on Paradise, is to not feed into the baloney bullshit or the temptation. So for us to see like a strong role model that inspires all of us to be better in our own lives in certain ways. And I think I don't know if that's enough to go on there. Of course, I know you want to find a wife, but I think it's just, it's really nice to see someone like you that it's not part of the bullshit, something that's just entertaining. You're somebody that is going to definitely make people deep down look in and try to be better.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. I mean, and it's vice versa with Dustin, with you. It's vice versa with Clay. It's not just me. And I appreciate you saying that, man. I do. I'm past all that, right? Like I'm too old for all that. And I'm somebody, and I don't mean it too old of like, I'm this old guy, bro. I'm young. I'm like a kid at heart, but I know what my vision is locked on, and I know the direction I'm going, and I'm not deterring from that direction. Now, like I said, if God says to me like, no, you're going there because I have a woman for you, that's a different, but I'd have to have that clarity. I'd have to have that clarity because I truly believe like it doesn't have to be so cookie cutter, right? Like if I met my wife in a situation like that, good for me. Like I'm not opposed to that stuff, but I think everybody, and I think people that are starting to meet me know what comes with me, and they're like, all right, well, we at least know what to expect with this guy, right? So
yeah, well, we'll see. That's a Mike that's a no for Mike, but let's see what the big man says. You never know what he'll say in this next few months. But
and I'm gonna keep my eyes and ears open because I think I'm gonna start researching some of these potential beachgoers here for Michael Planeta, man, and I'm gonna see if I think that there could be a match there, and I'll let you know.
It might be a match, man.
You never know, man.
Mike,
you never know.
This was a phenomenal episode, man. I got to thank you, man. This was Like I already feel this has uplifted my day already.
That's what happens when you talk to Mike and hang out with Mike, man. You have some great combos. You leave like you just feeling better. So always appreciated about hanging out with Mike, man. The guy's a fountain of knowledge, just a bunch of knowledge and good vibes, man.
Yeah.
Y'all are hyping me up too much. No. I appreciate you guys, man.
Thank you, Mike. I'm looking forward to our next tropical trip and our 2 a.m.'s under the star chats. So until next time, brother, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the flip side.
Later, Magic
Appreciate
Mike.
you guys. Appreciate you guys. Seriously.
Bachelors in the City is hosted by me, Peter Weber.
And me, Dustin Kendrick. This podcast is produced by Red Rock Music.
Our producer is Emma Martins, and our executive producer is Red Yoakum. Our audio engineer is Enrique Hinojosa. Subscribe and like or review wherever you get your podcasts.
Follow the show on Instagram at Bachelors in the City Podcast.
Got questions for us about the show, life, or really whatever? DM at Bachelors in the City Podcast on Instagram for a chance to be a featured third roommate.
We'll catch you next time.